Every year, more people die from alcohol than from all wars, terrorist attacks, traffic accidents, and murders in the world combined. And yet, there is no ban. Instead, it sits on supermarket shelves between orange juice and sparkling water. We pour it at weddings. We open a bottle for promotions. We give it as a Christmas gift. Some would call it culture. But how dangerous is alcohol, really? The alcohol we drink is called ethanol. 2 carbon atoms, 6 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen atom, one of the simplest organic compounds in existence, and at the same time, one of the most powerful. Ethanol is produced through fermentation. Yeast consumes sugar from grapes, grain, apples, agave, whatever, and releases ethanol as a byproduct. This is no accident of nature. Yeast produces ethanol as a weapon, a cellular poison designed to eliminate competitors. What we're drinking, in other words, is the waste product of a microscopic organism trying to poison everything around it. Depending on the drink, ethanol content ranges from around 4% in beer to over 40% in spirits. Everything else in the glass, the aromas, the color, the taste, is decoration. The effect comes from the ethanol, and that effect doesn't begin when you start feeling drunk. It begins with the very first sip. Ethanol needs no digestion, no breaking down, no waiting. It's absorbed directly through the stomach lining and small intestine into the bloodstream, fast, within minutes. From there, it travels everywhere, into muscles, into organs, and into the brain. Ethanol is small enough to cross the blood-brain barrier, the protective wall that normally keeps foreign substances out of the brain. For ethanol, it's no obstacle at all. Once inside, it interferes with multiple systems simultaneously. It amplifies GABA, the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter. Things slow down, calm down, ease up. It suppresses glutamate, the activating counterpart. Reactions slow, decisions become harder, and it triggers the reward system. Dopamine floods in. Feels good, do it again. The result is something you already know. After 1 drink, relaxation, lightness, the world gets a little softer. After 3, inhibitions drop, laughter comes easier, the walls come down. After 5, coordination fails, speech slurs, the brain starts fighting itself. At 3 times the legal driving limit, unconsciousness becomes a real risk. At 4, it turns life-threatening. The part of the brain that controls breathing can simply shut down. But that's not really what this video is about, because one night of heavy drinking is rarely the problem. The real damage is what alcohol does in silence, over months, over years. While ethanol circulates in the blood, the liver works to break it down, roughly 1 standard drink per hour, no faster. During that process, it produces acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is what's still sitting in your body the morning after. It's what causes the hangover, and it's a carcinogen. Acetaldehyde damages the DNA of every cell it passes through: mouth, throat, esophagus, stomach, liver, colon. In women, breast cancer is added to the list. Alcohol raises estrogen levels, directly increasing the risk in breast tissue. Worldwide, alcohol causes around 740,000 new cancer cases every single year, and there is no safe threshold, no point at which it becomes okay. Every sip produces acetaldehyde. Every sip does damage. Then there's the liver itself, which carries the heaviest load. Alcohol disrupts fat metabolism, causing fat to accumulate where it doesn't belong. The liver becomes fatty, then inflamed, then scarred. The end stage is cirrhosis, a liver that barely functions and is largely irreversible. Hundreds of thousands of people die from it every year. Most of them never saw it coming. And the brain. Long-term alcohol use causes neurons to shrink and severs their connections. Memory becomes patchier, thinking slower, emotional regulation more fragile. The risk of dementia rises, measurably, provably, directly proportional to how much a person drinks. Nobody decides to become an alcoholic. It just happens. Because alcohol doesn't just activate the brain's reward system, it rewires it. The brain learns, stress is followed by alcohol is followed by relief. It wants to repeat that loop. Over time, it needs more to get the same effect. 1 drink isn't enough anymore, 2 becomes the baseline, 3 feels normal. That's tolerance, and tolerance is the first step into the trap. The second step is dependence. At some point, the equation flips. You're no longer drinking to feel good. You're drinking to avoid feeling bad. And then there's something most people don't know. Alcohol is one of the few substances where withdrawal can be more deadly than continued use. Because the brain has adapted to being constantly suppressed by ethanol, when alcohol suddenly disappears, it overcorrects wildly and without warning. Seizures, racing heart, hallucinations, organ failure. Severe alcohol withdrawal requires medical supervision. Simply stopping can kill you. Worldwide, an estimated 400 million people are dependent on alcohol or drink at clinically problematic levels. That's 1 in every 14 adults, and most of them look perfectly fine from the outside. No bottle in a paper bag, no obvious collapse. Just a person who goes to work, loves their family, and needs 4 beers every night to fall asleep. Up until now, we've been talking about the person who drinks, but alcohol doesn't stop there. It reaches into the lives of people who never made a choice at all. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people die in traffic accidents, not because they were drunk, but because someone else was. Half of all people killed in alcohol-related crashes hadn't touched a drop themselves. They didn't die because they did anything wrong. They died because someone else made a bad decision. Alcohol is a factor in a large proportion of violent crimes worldwide: domestic abuse, assault, sexual violence. Studies show that in households where alcohol is misused, children are 3 times more likely to experience physical or emotional violence. Not an excuse, but an accelerant. A trigger that turns conflicts into catastrophes and turns homes into places that aren't safe. And then there are the children. The ones who grow up in those households and learn, when things get hard, you drink. That pattern repeats itself, from generation to generation, with a probability that should deeply concern all of us. But it hits hardest of all those who truly never had a choice. Every year, hundreds of thousands of babies are born with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, a lifelong neurological condition caused by alcohol exposure during pregnancy, learning difficulties, memory problems, impulse control that never develops properly, for life. After everything we've just covered, why do 2.4 billion people still drink? Because alcohol offers something that's genuinely hard to replace. In the ancient world, fermented drinks were social tools. Beer likely helped hold the first settled communities together, wine sealed agreements, spirits made cold and pain bearable. For millennia, alcohol was also safer than water. It killed bacteria, it kept. And today, it lowers anxiety, dissolves barriers, makes conversations flow, silence more comfortable, strangers less strange. That's real. That's neuroscience. And it's the reason why warnings alone have never been enough and never will be. But something is shifting. Younger generations are drinking less, significantly less. Alcohol-free alternatives are booming. Being sober is no longer a social awkwardness. It's a conscious decision. That's a win, measurable in fewer accidents, fewer cancer diagnoses, fewer families quietly falling apart. But it raises a question we don't yet have a good answer to. How do we build connection without the poison? How do we lower anxiety without the chemistry? How do we celebrate without the morning after? That's not a rhetorical question. That's the real challenge. Alcohol is dangerous enough that we should be talking about it everywhere. Instead, it sits between the orange juice and the sparkling water. We hope you're leaving this video with something you didn't have before. Not to take the joy out of life, but so you know what you're actually dealing with. We've shown you what alcohol really does. What you do with that is up to you. If you enjoyed this video and want to support us, subscribing to the channel helps us more than you might think. And the next topic is at least as surprising.